Minister of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation, Lindiwe Sisulu, wants the police and the army to enforce lockdown regulations to avoid more land invasions. The minister told the National Council of Provinces that land seizures will not be tolerated. Sisulu's urged authorities to follow the correct procedures when evicting people from illegally occupied land. Now, joining us is the Human Settlements Minister, Lindiwe Sisulu. Minister, very good morning to you and thank you for your time. You are now doing all you can to enforce lockdown regulations to ensure that we avoid more land invasions. But as I speak to you, I cannot get the image of Bulelani Kolani, who was that naked man who was moved very shockingly at the Empoleni informal settlement. Just talk us through some of your plans and how you'll be enforcing them.
I came across the matter of Empolweni on the 17th of April when they went to court because their shacks had been demolished. And I had wanted to join them in their court application, but it had already proceeded far too much into the case for me to do that. However, I met them soon after the case had been concluded, and the judge had granted 49 families who lived there the right to live there, had confirmed that they actually had lived there for a period of time. In the meantime, the police had torn down their structures and dumped them somewhere. So we came in as Human Settlements to assist them, not only put up some temporary shelter, but also to ensure that their case is taken through for the rest of the families who were there. It was a concern to me because in terms of our disaster arrangements under which COVID has put us, no one may evict anybody. No one may invade any land. Those are very clear regulations, and we put them there precisely because part of what we're trying to do as government is to make sure that we can keep everybody safe distances and etc. When you evict people, you dump them in one place, which makes it very difficult for them to exercise any kind of social distance, apart from the fact that it is actually illegal to evict people without a court order first. So everything that was done there was illegal.
Now, as we look at this lockdown situation and we go back to your call for the police and the army to work together to ensure that the anti-land invasion operations happen, what are some of the deeper level plans on how this will be executed and how you plan on monitoring this process?
Well, in the first place, I didn't understand how it was that the city police would have accused the people of Empolweni of having invaded the land within the last 24 hours or whatever it is, because we were under lockdown conditions. Under lockdown conditions, nobody is allowed to move around without a permit. So I wanted to find out, where were the police? Where were the soldiers? Because there clearly was a settlement there of quite a number of people, almost 90 people or so. How could they have moved from one place to another and erected those structures without anybody seeing them? The police were all over the place. And therefore, my suggestion was that should we want to be certain that no land is invaded, then we can call on the police to protect land that is available that might be open to invasion. But we haven't put that in place. It was my suggestion, after realizing that while we have a very strict regulation that there shall be no eviction, we also equally have a very strict regulation that says nobody will invade land, so that land will remain protected and we are able to protect private property from invasion in this particular period. We have not put that in place, and it didn't seem to us that it was necessary after the example of what happened in Empolweni, where the court judged in favor of the people who lived there and returned their rights to them, and the police were required to return their belongings to them. which did not happen in the time that I was there. But we haven't got a plan yet on how we're going to deploy the police or how we're going to deploy the Defence Force. But after this case, we will put it on the agenda of the Command Council and see whether, in fact, it is necessary. And if it is necessary, we will let the public know how we're going to do that.
Now, Minister, let's talk a little bit about the Dedensification project to allow for social distancing. You touched on it briefly just now. We know that just looking at the pace, there have been complaints about the pace at which it's working. The Sunday Times recently reporting on the slow progress that the department has made in setting up the temporary units. What are some of your challenges or perhaps your bigger concerns when it comes with this process?
Well, you know, when we started off with putting regulations for COVID-19, we did indicate in our submission to the Command Council that we would like to what government calls de-densify, what the people of informal settlements call reblocking, because we wanted to provide those people with the same amount of social distancing that everybody else has. When it is indicated that when you're tested positive with the virus, you need to isolate yourself. I don't know how anybody in an informal settlement isolates themselves. So we took it upon ourselves to work with the people in the informal settlements and work through them, through NGOs who had been working with them, to convince them that this would be a necessary step to take, that we kind of open up spaces in informal settlements and put people in other areas. The Sunday Times article somewhat misrepresented what it is that we wanted to put across. We have been putting people out in places which we think are very decent. We went to Elijah Bahai, where 12,000 units are now available for people who to move in. We've been going around putting up structures and putting people in their structures. We have a very good example that has been internationally quoted in Rodiport, where within 2 weeks we were able to put up houses for people who lived in tents. So insofar as the pace of our moving on this is concerned, we are doing well. Where we're not doing well is the fact that it was not possible for us during lockdown level 5 and 6 to have access to those materials that we need for construction. And this had not been thought out, properly by ourselves. Warehouses were closed down. We couldn't get cement. We couldn't get most of those things that we needed to ensure that we are able to do what needs to be done. We have now put that in our regulations, and we're putting up temporary shelter everywhere where we are able to. The level of informality in our country means that we would not have done it even in 3 years. But where it is most dense and where we've been able to work with our people, we have managed to penetrate and do the necessary de-densification. We have put up structures in Mamelodi for women. We're improving the hostels in Mamelodi. I could count the number of places that we have attempted to upgrade to ensure that we are able to protect people from, spreading the disease. What we're not able to do is get the necessary ingredients of cement and bricks, but we do now, and we have improved. Last week, we took a tour. We invited the media to what we're doing in Tshwane, and it is remarkable. We actually are doing very well. And should we find that we're not performing at the level that we should be performing, we would like to get permission from government to work 24 hours so that we are able to meet the target of moving as many people as is possible.
And Minister, very lastly, before we let you go, as you call the police and the army to assist you in the anti-land invasion operations, you say you're not sure exactly how this plan will roll out and how the process will be implemented. Are you not concerned that bringing out the police, bringing out the army to assist you here could prove to be a futile exercise, and also looking at when it comes to a more enabling legislative framework on human settlements. What are some of your long-term plans there to ensure that it really is enabling, especially when it comes to urban land reforce?
Well, you know, the idea of bringing out the police and the army is not one that we have taken through to the command council. It is something that I indicated to the media as they were saying to me, look, what alternative do you have? People are now occupying land. And in terms of our regulations, this is illegal. So what are you doing to make sure that this level of illegality is adhered to? So I said, well, you know, we do have law enforcement officers. I cannot see people carrying fridges and beds across the road and at a time when they're supposed to be under lockdown without the police wondering what they're doing and stopping them. It is their job. The job of the police at that particular time of our lockdown was to make sure that nobody is out in the street. The only people who were out in the streets were people who were dealing with emergency services, and we had to identify ourselves as such. So I couldn't understand how it was that they were able to evade the police and get to the place, which is what was alleged, and get to those places and put up informal settlements. But the concern is genuine. We have had people going and invading land. We have had to go to the courts to get the necessary remedy to remove them. But what I was saying is, in this particular period, I cannot see how it is possible that we have the army all over the place, we have the police all over the place, and people are still accused of having traveled many miles to go and put up their shacks. So it is an idea, and it is not yet taken through the command council. When it is, then we will be able to explain to the public how we're doing it. It was my knee-jerk reaction to the fact that I did not believe that these people had somehow mushroomed overnight with all the police and the security there. I myself have been stopped many times in Cape Town, turned back many times in Cape Town because they were everywhere. How could they not have detected people coming to put up houses? It seemed impossible to me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time there. Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation Minister Lindiwe Sisulu talking us through her plans there over the anti-land invasion operations.